Welcome, everybody. I like to try and start on time if possible. As real estate agents, I know a lot of us do run late. I joke and I tell everyone you're Greek, you run in Greek time, because if you know any Greeks like me, Greeks run late to everything. You don't show up early to anything. So I'm going to get started. More people may come in, but I want to respect all of you for coming on time and being ready. So
okay, so I will tell everyone that the door slides. There are stickers on the door. The door is closed. Megan, can we put a garbage can in front of the door, please, to slow people down from just blasting through it?
Orange code.
Okay, so I want to tell you, I want to introduce Coco. I'm not going to say her last name. I'm going to let her do it because I would butcher it. I've already tried to perfect the Indian and Asian last name, so Greek is a whole nother learning curve for me. Even though my family we eat a lot of Greek food and we live there, but so I was reading through Coco's bio, which is a lot longer than what I'm going to share today. But it is a very impressive one. And coming from a family and being in real estate for 20+ years now, I've seen people come and go, and the resume that she has and the things that she's been able to achieve, you're gonna wanna listen here today, and you're gonna wanna interact. You don't wanna just hear her spiel. I want you to have questions. I want you to engage her with what she's talking about, so you can truly get that experience and expertise that is inside of her. So after dealing with tragedy, you left the corporate world and went into the vast open world of real estate. Who in here is 5 months into their real estate journey?
okay.
Okay, there's more of them. They're not raising their hands, just so you know. In your
There's nothing
first
wrong
year,
with that. That's awesome, by the way.
in your first year, you became rookie of the year for Keller Williams Los Gatos. Okay,
Which is a big office, has a lot of big teams.
yes. Right now, you perfected a 90% conversion rate on your appointments.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing.
Buyers, but buyers too, listings and buyers.
You became a success certified coach,
Yes.
and now your passion is driven by empowering others to raise their ceiling and help them achieve new heights to hopefully touch a little bit of what you've been able to do. You formed a academy called Agent Brand Academy, which is a digital training platform.
Mhm.
So there's lots of other stuff that you'll be able to get from Coco. Today, we're talking about the daunting buyer representation agreement. So now from what Laura told me, every buyer,
Every
you
buyer.
have them sign.
Everything.
Did anyone else just take a big gulp when you heard that? Every buyer. Now, Priyanka, I'm hearing great things from you that the last 3 people you've met with, you've had them sign it, no problems, so kudos to you.
Good.
She's an international speaker and trainer, and this is the most impressive thing that we're going to talk about here today. Mother of 4, international speaker, and 15-hour work weeks.
Yes.
Would we all like to be able to achieve this? The answer is yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe not the mother of 4, yes. I agree. I'm at 1 and I'm like, I don't know. We're not going that high. So please play all in, like I always ask you here today. And give your respect and attention to Coco here at the front. And now let's give it up for Coco. We are so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here, like he said, so the buyer broker agreement, I call it buyer broker agreement, that's just how I've always called it, so I have it as one way, but you're just gonna hear me say buyer broker agreement, because that's what I call it. It's been something that I've been passionate about. I'll tell my story around how I had to get into it, the shifts I've made. Today, I'm not gonna go into the actual contract, I'm not gonna go line by line of how you should do that, that should be your broker. That should be what your brokerage is teaching you on it, but I'm gonna give you a lot of tips and tricks. I'm gonna talk a lot about mindset. I'm gonna tell you basically what I'm doing, right? But I wanna encourage you to participate. This is a safe space, and I know it's being recorded, but that's okay. There is no shame if you're struggling. There's no shame if you have fear. The past 2 days, I have been on probably 10+ calls about this new settlement. Some where I'm speaking and I'm talking, some where I'm on it. I've been directly with my brokerage C team about it. So there's been a lot of conversation. I know a lot of people are really afraid of what's going to happen. This training is going to be very much about don't be afraid. I am so excited about this change. This means you have an opportunity to make way more. Remember, everything is negotiable, nothing's set in stone. But if you can show your value and your trust that you're the expert, why can you not get 3 or 4% with the buyer? Who does listings in here? Who gets 3 or 4% on a listing? Awesome. Who gets 4.5%? You can. Why not? Right? If you negotiate it, you can get it. So I want to encourage you, looking at the listing and doing listings, if you've done listings, we are just shifting that same concept to buyers. Now I'm not selling your home, I'm helping you buy a home. Same concept. So we're gonna get into all the details, and I have 3 great secrets that I want to, oops, let me do this, sorry guys, that I want to share with you. Uh-oh.
Click on your presentation.
Okay, there you go. So this training is for people who are really serious about making money, right? So I'm gonna go into details. I'm gonna help you find your confidence. So if you are really doubtful about things, don't worry, we're gonna get through a lot of that. Understanding why the buyer broker agreement is critical. I'm gonna talk about the NAR settlement and how it's going to be required, right? So you have to learn this. And I'm gonna talk about how, do you want to be pushed into doing things, or do you want to be ahead of the curve and leading the way? I will tell you from experience, when I'm ahead of the curve and I'm leading the way, it's so much easier. Because I've already been there, done that, and I'm moving forward where everyone else is kind of getting crammed into a lane, trying to move forward, right? And then ready to take their business to the next level. And I like the beach picture because I'm like, this is where you should want to be. I just to let you know, I still do my real estate business. I don't push as hard on it just because I do more coaching and training and I have my course. I went to Disneyland 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago for a whole week, came home for 1 week, then went to Disney World for a whole week. Okay? So you should be excited about opportunity and getting on that beach or wherever it is that you want to do. And this is what you're working for. Maybe this is going to work. Let's see. Okay. All right. This is different and unique because I'm going to talk to you about how you can command a higher price. Buyers, I feel like if you just talk to agents who do just listings or they haven't done buyers in a long time, they'll say, do listings. Listings are great. Do listings. Like, oh, they're hard. They'll say they're hard and we have to get paid a lot of money. Who's worked with a buyer for 2 years? I have. I just closed one like a few months ago. I worked with them for 2 years, right? I still only need 2.5%. Right now, it's really hard. I've done it a couple times where I've tried to get 3%, but if you do the buyer broker agreement, it's super hard. The pushback I get is, Coco, we love you. We want to work with you. By the way, I'm called Coco in the real estate world. I love you and I want to work with you, but why am I paying you if the sellers pay you? Why should I pay you? And it's really hard, even if you show your experience, skills, everything, because that's the mindset they have. But if you work with someone for 2 years, it would be nice to make a good chunk of money versus just maybe 2% or some people who only take a lower percentage as well, or you give your money back. I love this quote. The art of marketing is the art of brand building. If you are not a brand, you are a commodity. Then the price is everything, and the lowest cost producer is the only winner. Who's gone against those agents who are like, I'll give you 50% of my commission back. I'll give you this. Hey, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I joking Greek, if you've ever gone out of the country and you've gone to countries in Europe, right? If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. I was in Greece a couple summers ago. And I go and I'm standing, I'm looking at this restaurant, and there's a restaurant there and a restaurant there, both on a corner. And I'm looking and they're selling a gyro, which is like a Greek, meal, and a beer for like €5. And I'm sitting there, how do they make a buck? Right? Like, how do they make any money doing this? And we were talking to the owners because I'm a business person, so I like to talk to the owners. I do it all the time. And I'm like, why are you guys like doing this? Well, he keeps dropping his price, so I have to drop my price, and he's dropping. I'm like, whoa, why don't you build something special? Why don't you do something unique and command a higher price? Make it different. Why are we competing on price? And when I coach agents, I've coached over 1,000 agents now. I ask them, why are you competing? Why are you lowering? Why are you giving away? Oh my God, why are you giving away 50% of your commission? Why? Do you not have value in you? So that's really important to understand. You don't want to be competing on price. You want to show how special and unique you are and what values you bring. My big promise today, we only have an hour-ish. I talk a lot, I'm a long form speaker, so I'm really watching the clock, making sure that I'm not gonna drag this on too long. But I really want to promise by the end of this, you're comfortable sitting down with your buyers and having this conversation. That you can take your forms and be like, let's talk about this. Why is this required? But you have to believe it inside, and that's where I want to get you to. We all have challenges, right? I'm gonna guess a few of the challenges just based on a lot of people I've been talking to lately. You're struggling with confidence, maybe sitting down and actually mentioning the buyer broker agreement is so terrifying to you that you kind of almost get in a cold sweat. I get it, I've been there. Or you're feeling unsure. Like, how do you start that conversation? When do I kind of like, I always say it's like, how do you kind of work it into a conversation? Because that's the hard part, right? It feels awkward or lumpy and you're just like, oh, I just did this great pitch. And now I'm like, oh, do you want to sign it? And everyone's kind of like, what? Or you're having difficulty talking about what you're worth, right? And the funny thing is, it's you, by the way, who don't feel you're worth that. They don't see it. What they see is what you show them, right? Who else wants to share a fear that they have around it or something that's a challenge? When you're new, okay? Is it just because you're new, meaning you haven't done any sales or just not experienced with the contracts and stuff? Okay?
I think one thing I always think is in your initial conversations with the client, you do not have a reputation built enough to be able to confidently bring up the discussion about BRBC. And if you bring it up, they might feel as if you are being too pushy. So I don't like to bring it up in the first consultation that I do, but if I see we are getting along well, then I slowly start talking about it and then eventually bring it up.
Did you hear what he said? He didn't feel like he had the reputation. He didn't have a brand. He didn't have something that showed his value. Right? And that is a great point. That is a lot of agents. Or they try to bring up their brokerage, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm gonna tell you, if it's him and him and him all competing for the same person, and you're representing your brokerage, what do you become? A commodity. Well, he's doing it for 2%. He's gonna do it for 1.5%. He's gonna do it for 3%. They're all the same, obviously, the same brokerage. I'll just go that guy. Right? You don't have that value of you that you're gonna stand on. That's great. Anyone else?
You're not sure how to say it clearly and consistently.
Yes. Now, what about the growth? The change? What can you see as you go? You want to build confidence and what? Close more deals. You want to be seen as the expert and close more deals. You want to feel prepared and ready to close more deals. What's the theme here? Close more deals. Right? When I was out in Greece, training real estate agents on how to sign the buyer broker agreements, or basically their agreements that they have out there. These are 3-hour training. I did 4 of them in 9 weeks. 3 hours I was training on this because they don't do it. Right? I asked them, I said, I am so confused. Are we in the business of making money? Are we in the business of running around? Because I'm really confused what's going on here, right? Who just runs around all day thinking I'm gonna get a sale eventually if I do enough work? I hope to God nobody, right? I feel like a lot of times that's what it is, but that is not what real estate is. I'm sorry, everybody who does not like to hear this, you are a salesperson. Welcome to sales. This is sales. You can make it relationship based, you can make it however you want to do it, but this is sales. And if you're not out there selling, you're not making money, and you're wasting time. One of my biggest things, and I'm gonna share my story in a minute about how last year I was 30 minutes from death. I almost died. Literally, my body was shutting down and I almost died. After that, and I recovered, I sold 2 $3.5 million homes while I was in bed and could not move. Right? This is sales. So you have to be prepared for this. Who wants to look at a positive side of this and the growth that the buyer broker agreement is gonna bring to them?
So explain how.
Just what do you feel like, if you could master this and you could do it, what would it do for you?
I think the biggest thing I see is I would be able to use my time more effectively with the absolutely serious clients,
Yes.
which in turn will result in more deals.
Yeah. People ask me, how do you work 15 hours a week? And I was joking with someone, I'm like, I kind of a little bit less than 15 now, like, it's such on a system that it just kind of goes. And this month alone, I'm going to close, I've already closed one, I have another deal closing. I'm gonna make commission over $150,000 just this month, okay? And I have a listing coming in April where I'm gonna make a good chunk. And I have a client, by the way, who loves me so much, I helped them buy. I'm helping them sell, and then they just called me and they're like, so we love you, Coco, we want you to know we're giving you everything, we want you to sell our rental as well. Right? Value, trust, expertise, it all is important. But when you build the right brand and you build who you are and you have your values, you don't have to run around. You have an agreement signed. We're gonna talk about what that really means. Yes.
Tying the fear with the pro is, I don't know if it's a fear, but a lot of people didn't do it. And so what happened was when you pushed it on them, well, not pushed it, but you say, hey, sign it, they would go, well, these 5 agents don't make me do this. So the blessing with this change is that now it is required, easy conversation, like, hey, there's no one you're working with that's not gonna make you sign this. I mean, that's the wrong way to say it,
But yes,
but we're gonna have to, you have to commit to somebody
yes.
if you want our help.
That's one of the big things. I was on calls with from NARS actually, and our broker team with attorneys, and I've been on a lot of calls, and one of the biggest things that they liked about it is that was one of the hardest things for a lot of agents. Well, these other agents aren't doing it, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And this whole settlement really was NAR trying to protect us. The change had to come anyways.
Yeah.
So the question is, did we want that judge in the Midwest somewhere to dictate the rules for all of us? Because that's what he could have done. Or NARS chose to settle and make the rules themselves on what we needed anyways. And this is a good change. It really, really is, because it's going to give you more time back. Time is finite. You only have so much time, and I'm gonna tell you, you don't know when it ends. You don't know how long you're gonna be here. And I see these agents who are driving 200 miles a day, who are running all over the place. That somebody calls them, they drop everything and run here, run there. What is your time worth, right? Money is infinite. People laugh when I say this, but this is so true. I can make a buck. I could go work at McDonald's. I could go wherever. If I need money, I can make money. I'm not worried about that. But I can never get more time. And now I'm 41 now, and I think about it and I'm like, man, I'm 41. I wish I would have done all this so much sooner. Like, I feel like my time is going by. You can't go backwards. So make sure you understand that. So I'm gonna tell you my story. These are my 4 beautiful kids, right? And my husband. So my daughter is 14, my son is 11, and then my other son is 7 and 4. So those are my kiddos. So I had 2 kids before I got into real estate. I was pregnant with my 3rd child. I was 30 weeks pregnant when he passed away. Yeah, it was really, really hard for me. He was full term, so I still had to deliver him and everything. And I was in corporate America, so I have an undergrad in international business with an emphasis in finance, and I have a master's in taxation. I used to work for Ernst & Young. And I was in the corporate world. I moved from taxation to outside sales, and I did software sales and stuff. After I lost my son, I turned to my husband and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like my life. I never see my children. I wake up at 6 in the morning to drop them off at preschool at 7 or daycare or wherever. I work all day. I rush 6 o'clock to pick them up. I feed them. I put them in bed. What kind of life is this? Right? So after all that, my husband said, try real estate. You've sold so many homes and you never got a commission for it, right? I would be people be like, buy a home, buy a home. And I've always loved homes. So he's like, try it. Well, in my family, you're either a doctor or an attorney. Real estate makes no money. I was nuts. I was the crazy one. Here's the funny thing. My brother, he's amazing. He's a very successful doctor. I make way more money than he does. So real estate's a cool profession, but it was a challenge to get into it. And like they said when they introduced me, I joined Keller Williams when I first started in real estate. I was rookie of the year, right? I was pregnant with my William, and I don't know what I was doing. I threw everything at the wall. Whatever stuck, stuck. I ran everywhere. So if you're a new agent running around, that's kind of normal. And I'm gonna teach you some ways you don't have to run around because unfortunately, we're kind of taught to do as many deals as you can do and make it work. My second year, I was like, okay, I gotta figure something out. So I tried a little bit more, tried to get a little more organized, still did okay. My third year, I was like, this is enough. Like, I'm done. Like, I'll go back to my corporate job. I was making $50,000 the first couple of years, even though I was rookie of the year. And I wasn't making a lot of money. And I was like, dude, I was making like 300 grand in my corporate job. Like, this is not what I want to do. So I said, I'm gonna be strategic. I'm gonna build a strategy around this. And I said, okay, how can I figure out to make this process better? What can I do? And I started, little did I know, I started building a brand around myself. My third year in real estate, third year, nobody in my family does real estate. I didn't know anybody in real estate. I had a phenomenal mentor, but I had to kind of pick everything up and go. I made $550,000 my third year in real estate. With, by the way, 2 older kids and a brand new baby. He would be in my little carrier and people, I'd be showing homes and they'd be like, and I'm like, yes, they're like, is there a baby in there? And he'd be like, yeah, meet William. So by the way, if you have kids and you say you can't do real estate and you can't show homes, I took them everywhere. Everywhere. People love that, right? So use your kids to your advantage. Then from there, I take them in the stroller, I'll take them in the car and I go door knocking, and I'm not joking, if you have kids,
Oh, yeah. they're not-
take them door knocking.
You're not gonna
because-
slam the door on you.
Yeah, they don't slam the door on me, and then my kids will see the dog, and then they're petting the dog, and then my kids are already in before I'm in, by the way. I'm like, oh, look at my kids, and they're like, oh, shit.
Nice.
Being strategic. I feel like so many people who teach real estate put you in a box. You have to fit this box. You have to do it this way. If you're doing it legally, can I ask why you have to do it that way? Why can you not think outside the box, stay legal, don't do anything wrong, but think differently, be different. That's so important. So after my third year, I was like, okay, this is working. I'm getting creative. And I started getting really creative on the different avenues that I've done. And I just grew and grew, even during COVID, when everyone said the world's ending, just like it's happening now, again, right? I was strategic. I had 4 kids, well, 3 kids, no, 4 kids, because Michael was born in 2019. I had 4 kids at home during COVID and a husband, which is another child, doing all his work at home, me trying to do my work. Oh, by the way, I tell him that all the time. He'll count himself. He'll be like, you have 4 boys. I'm like, yes, I do. So I had all that at home. Again, I had to figure out how to sell real estate. I got super, super creative and I sold a ton of real estate without leaving my home, without showing one home to anyone else. There's so many cool things you can do, but you have to think outside the box and have strategy. I'm gonna give you more stories, so I don't want to do it all, through here, but one of the last thing is I'm in my 8th year. I'm in the top 5% of Santa Clara County, and I'm in the top 1% in the United States for income earned. I don't look at deal size, I look at how much money. That's why I talk about commanding a higher commission helps you work less and make a lot more, right? So that's really important to think of. So what I have found as I look back and as my coaching and training goes, my personal brand is the most effective way to get clients to commit to working with me without giving up my commission. When I was sitting on all the calls about this NAR settlement, my brain was literally like, brand, brand, brand. They're like, you have to show your value. You have to show your worth. You have to be able to communicate clearly. I mean, it was like all I could hear was brand. Like, we need a brand. There are no businesses out there who are successful who don't have a brand. I always forget the name of these cups. The new cups that everybody loves.
Stanley.
I'm looking at these things going, I'm looking at these things going like, what? Like, I saw people at Disney World carrying these cups around. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to carry a cup around. Like, I have a Yeti that I'll keep in my car that keeps it cold. And I drink it, but I have a Yeti because it keeps it cold. So when I'm on the road all day doing stuff, I have cold water. But I'm looking at these cups. What did they build?
Right.
They've been around for a long time. They got in the hands of some really cool influencers who thought they were cool. And the brand took off. Then they realized, oh, wow, I can start shifting the way we create these. Oh, I can make cool colors. oh, if I get it in the hands of these people, and guess what? It took off. Lululemon. I love Lululemon. I work out in Lululemon. I don't wear Lululemon. And I was shopping at Lululemon the other day, because I'm doing Pilates and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's more pants. And the lady goes, oh, do you wear these around? And I was like, no, I actually work out in them. She's like, you do? They were built to work out in. They have transitioned now to a luxury designer. Is this not funny? This is brand. And I'm sharing these stories with you because you need to think of yourself as the brand. But you have to understand you're gonna change and morph as you go. So what you decide you're gonna be today, you're not gonna be tomorrow, and that's okay. But you gotta decide to be something today. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this and we're gonna go into more detail. So I have created the agent branding framework. This all goes into this NAR settlement, and don't worry, I'm gonna get to all of that. But I have to set your mindset up the right way. If you are not open to looking at things differently and understanding why you need these agreements and why having a brand and defining yourself is so important, you're not gonna do it. You're gonna have that fear and hesitation when you come in. So let's go through this. There are two big things, and a lot of things kind of lump into these two areas. You have being the expert and trustworthy. Every brand needs to be an expert and to build trust. And there's so much more that goes in how do you communicate it, right? How do you convey everything? How do you talk? How do you, when you build the trust, it's like, are you mimicking their speed? Are you saying I have kids, they have kids? But let's go over the problem if it's not done right. So if you have too much expertise and not enough trust, what do you call it? It's on there. Arrogance. I know those agents who walk in and are like, I'm the best of the best, I do production, I do all this stuff, da 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 da. But even when I'm with them, I'm like, I can't build the trust. Like, I don't feel like they care about me in any way. And I talk with my clients who've met those people, and they say the same thing, right? Now, if you have an arrogant client, they like that, right? Because you kind of build that trust because you're very similar. But I'm gonna tell you, for majority of people, if you come in all these arrogant, showing off that you're great, you're not gonna get a lot of clients. They're gonna be put off by it. Now, knowing your stuff is not arrogant, right? Pretending you know more or touting the stuff that you know just to look really cool is not gonna get you clients, right? Clients wanna feel that you know what you're doing. When crap hits the fan, you got it covered, right? And then you're gonna take care of them. So you don't wanna be arrogant. But now, if you don't have enough expertise and you still can't build trust, what do they call you? Amateur. New. You call yourself new, they call you amateur. By the way, just because you're brand new does not mean you can't rock it. I know agents that I coach that do 10 deals their first year. I know agents who just blow it out of the water. New does not mean anything. I know agents who are 20 years in the business and still are seen as amateur. Right? So it's up to you to make that difference. But if you have too much trustworthy and not enough expertise, you're called nice. And I was asking my family, so they didn't see this. And I was asking my husband, I was asking my kids, and my daughter's like, she started getting it after a little bit, because my husband's like, an idiot? And I was like, no, like, go down, like, what would a client, if you walk out of a room and someone comes in and they're talking about their kids and you have kids, because a lot of agents do this, they think this is how you build rapport. Oh, you have kids, I do too. Oh, you have a dog, I have a dog too. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, you go to Disneyland, I'm a huge Disney person, yada, yada, yada. And they walk away and they call me and they're like, I don't get why I didn't get the deal. Because you're nice. You're just nice. Right? You didn't build anything with them. So at the end of the day, you need the right amount of expertise, the right amount of trust. You need to make yourself irresistible. When you're irresistible and you walk into that meeting and you're sitting down with the buyers, they don't question you. They don't ask for a discount when you're negotiating, right? Have you ever had a client say, I think you should be paid more? I have. Do I take it? No. What I tell them is this, you're amazing. I want more clients like you. I want to prove to you how good I am at the end of this transaction. If I show you how good I am and you're still happy with me, will you refer me 3 of your friends? Absolutely. Right? So you can choose at that point, but you want to be irresistible. You want them to work with you. And that is so important. And I like this framework because a lot of people don't realize when they're struggling to get things signed, listings or buyer broker agreements, it's because you fall somewhere else in this. You don't fall in the right area. So I want to ask you guys, I'll go back to it. What quadrant right now, oops, do you think you fall into? Be honest with yourself, because I'll tell you, until you're honest and admit to yourself where you are, you can't grow. You have to be honest to yourself. So quick side note, for a long time, I said I could never lose weight, and I always struggled to lose weight. And finally, last year, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna lose weight. I lost 90 pounds in 1 year, and I was like, done. I just lost 17.5 pounds in 40 days, a couple months ago, and I'm weight lossing again. So until you come to it yourself and say it needs to change, and I gotta realize what's happening, you can't change. So somebody tell me, where are you? Where do you think you are? Nice?
Amateur and nice.
Amateur and nice. Yeah? Okay, so I want you in your notes, take 1 minute and think, how can you get to irresistible? Everybody is different. And a lot of people will tell me, just give me scripts. And I say, I can't give you scripts. And the question is, why? It's like weight loss. If I sucked it all out of you, you're gonna eat the next day, it's all gonna come back, right? You have to learn yourself. Each buyer is unique, you are unique. So you have to think real quick, what do I need to do to be irresistible? So when I walk in for the buyer broker agreements, I'm already showing I'm an expert and I'm trustworthy. So take a minute and think about it. Anyone have any questions on this framework? Is it good so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, maybe this is my misperception, but the training that I received on our broker is that it's a screening tool. You go in and you present your value and they say, well, we're not comfortable with it. And you say, well, I only work with the motivated buyers, and you walk away. That is not what we're talking about here, right?
I'm gonna mention that, but no, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about, you should do a buyer consultation. During the buyer consultation, and this is again, you need to understand these different areas to understand when you're sitting with a buyer, to know if they're the right buyer that you wanna work with or not. I know within the first 10 minutes of me sitting with someone, they're not my buyer. And I had one actually chase me out the door. Aren't you gonna work with us? And I was like, I apologize, but it's not the right fit. I'm happy to refer someone if you want to. Basically, I knew they were gonna ask for discount. They're gonna say no, they're gonna accept it, but I knew once we get to the end, they're gonna say, I want a rebate. And the funny thing is, he called me later on, he's like, I'll work with you, but I still think I value you, even though I didn't even accept to work with him. He's like, I value you, but I'm hurrying to do it, so I think you should pay my property taxes. I think you should pay this, and I think you should give me a rebate. And I'm sitting here going, I'm not even working with you. Like, so you have to be able to recognize that, right? And that's a whole different training. That's more of reading people, feeling them. I'm really good at feeling people. Like I had an appointment in Menlo Park, and we'll see what she ends up doing, but I work with 2 cultures. I work with clients from China, and I work with clients from India. That's really my main group, right? I'm really good at it. And I was being with this client, and she's been here for about 8 years, but she's from China. And there's things I know because I've learned. And she's like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. And we're talking. And I'm just sitting here going, it's just not feeling right. It's not feeling right. And I was like, so I'm gonna send you the listing agreement. We agreed upon 4.5%. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. And I walked to the car, and like, she's not ready. Like, not ready. So I waited a little bit. I went to another appointment. I texted her, and I was like, I just felt a little hesitation that it may not be right. Are you just not ready? Am I missing something? She goes, well, I didn't want to tell you. I got an all cash offer for 2.1 million. I don't know if I should take it or not. Will you discuss that with me? Right? So you have to be able to read, because most agents would have done what? oh crap, I get all money, I'm gonna go to my listing group, I'm gonna send it off, and they're all excited it's happening without realizing there's not really anything happening yet. And so you have to be able to read people, and that's really important. That's a training, that's a skill thing, that you're gonna learn over time. Great question. Again, we're just working on getting comfortable with sitting down with buyers. Let's talk about the big changes with the NAR settlement. Who's been on trainings? Anybody? Okay, who's been listening to the news? Who's terrified of the news on the news? Yeah. Oh my gosh. My husband called me, he was listening to KCBS, and he called me, he's like, buyer broker, like buyer commissions are going, by the way, my husband's a licensed real estate agent, he doesn't practice. But he's like, they're going away? What do you mean they're going away? And I'm like, they're not going away. He's like, but the news said, I said, they're wrong, they're wrong. So let's get into the details of it, okay? One of the biggest changes with the NAR settlement is this. A buyer broker agreement will be required to open a door. You cannot open a door if you don't have one signed. Okay? So you have to understand that. The rules are coming in July. The judge still has to ratify everything and say yes, 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 and it has to go through all the channels, but as of right now, this is what it says. So if you're not practicing getting one signed right now, you're going to be with hundreds of thousands of other people trying to cram into one little lane and figure it out really fast, and that's really hard. So it's important to practice this now. The second thing, I'm gonna try to be as clear about this as possible because it's a little confusing, so if you're confused, let me know. Sellers can still offer a concession or a commission of some sort, perfectly fine. It's up to the listing agent seller to figure it out. If the seller offers 3%, but you only negotiated $10,000, do you get the 3%? No. Whatever you negotiate on your buyer broker agreement is the only thing you'll get. If you negotiate $500 and someone's giving you 4%, new construction, regular residential, we don't have a ton of new construction here, but I have a lot of agents I talk to across the country who do. New construction for different part do 6%, by the way. So if you're negotiating $500 and the seller's paying more, you cannot take it. You can take no more than what you put in your agreement. So what does that mean?
Be smart about it.
You gotta be careful. Never.
Negotiate, you gotta learn to negotiate. You have, this is why I'm talking about brands.
Are you negotiating just for yourself or both?
Just yourself.
Just yourself.
So it's gonna be, the buyer broker agreement is just yours like it is today, where you put what they're gonna pay you, it basically goes to the broker, right? What they're gonna pay the broker, I should say, be more clear about that. It goes to the broker because we don't get paid, right? The brokers pay us, but you have to negotiate that upfront. You cannot change. Now, if you're halfway through a process and they wanna do an addendum to the buyer broker agreement, as of right now, all that's fine, but we'll see how everything goes. But you have to be careful. Okay, but if a seller is offering 10,000, you negotiated 3%, the cool thing is you can take that 10,000 and apply it towards the 3% that the buyer owes you, and then the buyer pays you the rest. I was speaking with my lender, who's in the back, but I had conversations on the lending side, because I said, okay, what, I wanna know, like, how is this changing on the lending? And as of right now, there's not too much change that we're seeing. But this is important to understand. So remember we talked about being the expert? If you're not picking up the phone and talking to your escrow officer, which mine is in the back as well, because I had a conversation with her too. They came, by the way, to learn too. Right? And this is why I love my team, because they want to be on top of it all and understand it all too. You should have your team understanding these elements as well. Because you need to know how it's gonna affect the lending side, if it's gonna affect escrow. As of right now, it doesn't seem like it's gonna really affect escrow at all, they just need all the normal agreements that we're doing. But I'm gonna keep asking as things roll out to make sure. So.
Question.
We
Hello?
talked about how they're required now, so you have to do them, starting July. We talked about how you need to negotiate your percentage, that's really, really important. And those are kind of the two biggest changes that are really affecting us. And depending on your brokerage, Some brokerages are talking, so my brokerage is talking about creating different forms. One form, if you wanna date the person, and you wanna do like one showing, you have one form. Then if you wanna check someone to see if maybe, work a little bit, I'm gonna try a weekend, showing some homes, you have a different form. And then, of course, you have the exclusive, you must work with me. And I was talking to our chief strategy officer, and I was like, I get that, but don't you just want the exclusive? Like, shouldn't we just go for that? And he's like, yeah, that's kind of the idea. But some people, wanna try that. So I'm gonna encourage you, if your brokerage decides to do some of those things where you have different levels, unless you're really unsure with the person, I recommend just doing the exclusive. Lock them in. If they're the right person, the right fit, and I'm gonna talk about figuring some of that out, lock them in. Because you want that. You want them to be able to keep moving forward with you without doubt. And by the way, when I do my buyer broker agreement, here's a tip for you. You can cancel anytime. So I have a little spiel that I use where I talk about it. When I'm all done, I go, by the way, before they even ask me, you can cancel anytime. I have a satisfaction guarantee. If you're not satisfied, text me or call me and let me know. Give me a chance to fix it because maybe I don't know I did something wrong. But if you're still not happy and you're not the right fit, I don't want you working with me. I want you happy. Let me know, we'll just cancel it. Put them at ease. Have you ever bought anything where you're like, oh, I can return it in 30 days, but I don't like it? I love Sephora. I can try stuff and I really don't like it. In 30 days, I can return it. I'm comfortable. If I'm gonna spend $60, $70 on lotion, it doesn't work, I can return it. I'm not out the money. So think of that when you're writing it. Please talk to your broker, see what they allow and stuff. Most allow it, but I always caution. So that's important to understand. Anyone have questions about the NAR settlement? Anything specific? Okay, you guys feel more comfortable with it? Okay, so the commission, yeah, go ahead.
So just have one question, like, what stops buyers from working directly with the listing agent?
That's a good question. That can happen. Okay, so in the new settlement, by the way, it can happen today. Right? Someone could just walk in and make an offer and they don't need representation. Nobody needs representation, right? We have that still today. The difference is gonna be this. If I'm representing the seller and you bring me a buyer and I know you, and I know you've closed 5 deals and I know you close them fast and you take care and you communicate, and then I have some buyer who has no clue what they're doing, right? Yes, maybe let's say the seller's offering $10,000, so maybe they'll say that $10,000, guess what I'm gonna do? Because it is my job to advise the seller. I'm gonna have a real conversation. By the way, you should never be telling when you're advising. It's very important. When I advise my clients, I give them the pros and the cons. I step back and then I ask them, what do you wanna do? You have to do that, it's really important. So I would tell them and say, look, yeah, we have these offers. They're the same price. I know you're gonna be giving $10,000 to him. I understand that because he's an agent. But this buyer, I can't advise because legally I'm not allowed. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how much they know or don't know. And guess what? Buyers and sellers who are unrepresented get litigated 4 to 5 times more often than someone who has an agent. I think it's worth spending the $10,000 and having this agent that I know represent the buyer. What do you think you should do? And I let them decide. That's what's gonna end up happening. So what I'm gonna tell you all right now, when you're building your brand for buyers, you need to build your brand with agents. There are so many agents who know me that when we're competing against offers and I have the same price, they know how I work. They know how I close deals. They wanna work with me because there's no hesitation at all what's gonna happen. So you need to build your brand with other agents and with buyers. That's a good question.
Yeah, just a follow-up.
Yeah.
So that's one scenario, right? Let's say you are a listing agent, I'm just a buyer off the street.
Yeah,
I come to you, I ask you to do a dual agency, represent. Then there is no, right?
we can still do that. We have to pre-negotiate that with the seller prior to that situation, kind of like we do already, well, you should be doing already, is having that conversation, but you're gonna have to get that in writing with the seller stating that you can work with another buyer and what's the commission they're gonna pay you for that buyer, if any at all. Please don't represent the sellers and be like, oh, I'll do a buyer for like $500. Don't do that. Don't. You're worth so much more because I don't care what people say. When you're in escrow, It's a lot of stuff. It still is. No matter the systems or how you work it, when crap happens, it's a lot. So take the commission, hope it's a good deal, but be prepared. Don't just skimp on it because you want to save face with the seller. If the seller says no, which they can even now do, you should have really good relationships with someone you can trust where you can give the referral. And by the way, if you have built a relationship with this buyer already and you've gotten a lot of information or whatever you feel like it's good, they're ready to go and you know they're gonna get it, you can ask for a better referral fee from the other agent. So be creative in those different ways. Those are good questions.
I'll just give you one time.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's just, I lost a deal last year, similarly, that's why I wanted
Yeah.
to get some clarity. I forget the name right now. There's this company, it's a technology company, similar to Redfin.
Yeah.
These guys, this company only works with sellers. And this buyer I had, there was no broker agreement thing at the time, so, and I was showing him home for like 5-6 months, we liked the home. And this home, they clearly said that we're not gonna pay commission to the buyer. And I was like, where is that written or whatever, right? And anyway, my buyer ended up going directly to that company.
Because they wanted the home.
Yeah, and the only thing they made it so simple though for my buyer, and I was like impressed with the company too, because they were like, only thing you need to do, they give you all the templates, just fill in the information, and they do everything for the buyer. They said, I mean, their response was, you should get your money from buyer, not from my seller. That's what, so similar thing what's happening. It was like early last year.
And that's still gonna happen, but that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Have to build that brand and that relationship with them, and if you have a buyer broker agreement, you don't have the problem, right?
This can only happen if there are no other
Oh, yeah,
buyers,
that would be great.
multiple offer situation. They cannot be representing more than one buyer's rate.
Right, so if I'm listing, you're my listing agent?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only represent one. Be careful, these big teams out there, some of you know them, where they have many different buyer agents or many different agents, and they'll throw a bunch of buyers to them and see whoever pans out. I've been in the business for 8 years. I think I've probably double-ended maybe 5 deals, 6 deals. I don't do a ton of them. I like to kind of give them off. My husband will take some if need be, so that my husband and I will negotiate. Because I wanna make sure I'm doing right by my seller. So whoever hires me, I wanna make sure it's right. I see these agents who built a business only by taking other people's buyers. And I had a neighbor of mine who was, and I didn't sign a buyer broker agreement or anything because I was actually dying at the time, but he was ready to buy. And he mentioned to me he was gonna buy, and I was like, okay, I'm going in for surgery and everything, when you get back, we'll talk more about it. And after his surgery, I was recovering, he called me, he's like, yeah, just wanna let you know, I already bought a home. I didn't have an agreement, right, because I wasn't there yet, and I was like, really? He goes, well, the listing agent told me that if I don't work with them, they won't tell the seller to accept my offer. There are a lot of agents like that, yes, these particular people, that's all they do, so they do dual agency. That's how they run their business, and they do a lot. It's shady, I don't like it, I don't recommend it. Play nice, because I have a whole list of people on my phone I don't play with. So play nice, be respectful, do the forms right, and have conversation, build the rapport with the agents as well, because that's just as important. We're gonna run a little over, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, strategy 1 is welcome the struggle. This is really important. A lot of you are already feeling the struggle that comes with getting the buyer broker agreement signed. This is mindset. This is coming in and understanding that it is okay. Failure is how you learn. If you're not failing, you're not learning. When I first started doing the buyer broker agreements, I actually failed a lot. And I'm gonna tell you a quick story about it. So when I first started doing it, my mentor at the time was like, if you know Doug Goss was my mentor. He would be like, you should get one signed. You like that? You should get one signed. So I was newer and I tried and I'm like, oh, that was like a panic attack. Like, I don't like that. Like, I literally stumbled through reading the stupid thing. I was like, da, 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 like, it was horrible. It was really bad. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that again. Like, no way. I tried it once, I failed, and I was like, I'm done. Where did it shift for me? It's like what you said. I was working with buyers and I was tired of them walking into open houses because they didn't tell me, or I couldn't make it, and the listing agent say, oh, I'll give you 50% of my commission back, work with me. Oh, or it's like, I didn't know they had an agent, even though I asked them, and I would spend 6 months showing them a home, and then I'd find out they bought a home, and I would be like, what happened? Oh, I didn't tell you, but we already had an agent, and they were just busy, so we used you, I thought it was fine. Have you had that happen? How ridiculous is that? So things were happening like that, and I was like, I'm done. So I had to get deep and struggle. And I had to figure it out. The first couple times I did it, I stumbled through it, but I made it a must. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm working crazy hours. I'm not gonna do this anymore. You guys are being forced into it being required. I was doing this when no one else was doing it. I was doing it because the struggle of not doing it was worse than doing it. So the first few times I failed, then I got one, then I failed some more, then I got a couple more. Guess what I did every time I failed? I learned. I learned my pitch better. I learned feedback better. I read people better. I got the flow better. The more I practiced, now it's almost natural. I go through my consultation, which is a really robust one. And as we're going through it, I'm like, any other questions that you might have regarding me and my services or what we're gonna do? No, not at all. Okay, great. Remember I mentioned in the beginning that we do have to have a commitment to work together to move forward? Yes, great. We're gonna talk about this commitment now. Let's have a discussion around it. And then I move into my spiel about the buyer broker agreement and talk about my commission. And I negotiate everything, right? So you have to practice that. It's going to hurt at first, but you have to keep going. Thomas Edison quote that I love, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. How many people give up too early? I love the agents when I coach them and say, door knocking doesn't work. I tried it once. Phone calls don't work. I tried it once. Right? And I try not to laugh on the phone, but it's so hard because I'm like, you tried it once, right? The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. And he has the right to say that because I think it took him 100 times of failing before he figured out how to make a light bulb. Right? You have to try. The struggle is real and you have to embrace it. So remember, it's a mindset shift. You have to go in looking at it that this is important. I must do it. It must happen. Right? You have to be okay to fail. It hurts. Trust me, especially if you have a big ego. It hurts because you're like, why can I not figure it out? But you've got to do it again and do it again. And you have to have positive self-talk. Do you know how many agents I coach who talk so negative to themselves? I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Why can't you get it fast enough? I can't figure anything out. That is negative self-talk. I train and do so many different training programs on positive self-talk. When you start shifting how you speak to yourself in a positive way, it makes big differences. I had an agent who couldn't get any homes listed or sold, and she was struggling. And I stopped and I said, when's the last time you said I love you? She was like, what? I was like, when's the last time you told yourself I love you and you're amazing and I'm proud of you? She's like, ew, never. And I was like, okay, you're gonna find a time today. I don't care if you're driving, you're in the shower, you have to be by yourself. And I want you to say it. And the next day we got our coaching call. And she was like, Coco, I was crying for hours. She said it and it changed everything for her. And then the next month she got one listing and then the next listing and then they started selling. So sometimes it's just be nice to yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace. If you were a master in this area, so if you really figured out your mindset and maybe changed your mindset a little bit, because I would say most of us have that, right? Give me 1 or 2 things that would impact you the most in a positive way.
Success.
Success. What else?
Yes.
Confidence. That's a big one. So many people don't realize your mindset's tied to your confidence. You have to be, and by the way, buyers feel that when you walk in like this and you're like, hi. They feel it, they're like, what's wrong with that person? And then if you walk in too cocky, they feel it. It should be like, hi, how are you? Like when I walk in, by the way, even when I come here, I get nervous. I get nervous because I'm like so excited. I want to do really good for you guys. I sit and I go, and then I do the Superman pose, which gives you confidence. It's actually proven. And I shake it out a little. And then I walk up to the door calm. By the way, get there early, guys. And knock on the door and going calm, collective, and confident. They like that, right? So shifting your mindset and what you tell yourself is really, really important. Focusing on your niche in ICA. Before I go in this, who has a niche? Okay, how about, do we know what an ICA is? Oh my gosh, you guys, okay, we're gonna talk about it, that's good, I'm glad we're talking about this. A niche is something you're focused on in real estate. Most agents I speak to, even in Greece, even around the world when I train, this is a global issue, by the way, it's not just us here. The more people I serve, the better. The more I talk to, the better. Is it? No, it's not. If I was in a neighborhood full of homeowners and I scream out, I have rentals, who needs a rental? Are they gonna hear me? You're like, what are you talking about, lady? But if I'm like, I do buying and selling and I'll renovate your home before sale, they're gonna be like, oh, you will? Can you tell me more about that? I'm talking to the right audience, the right people. If you have a niche and you focus down and there's a whole, this goes very deep, but I only have so much time. Think of it like almost like a funnel. You do real estate, maybe do commercial, but let's just assume you all do residential. Then where do you go from here? Are you first-time home buyers? Are you new construction? Are you investors? What are you? You need to figure that out, but you have to go deep. It can't just be like, oh, I help first-time home buyers. What category are first-time home buyers? Are they the ones who have credit score problems? Are they the ones that don't have down payments? The reason I say this, and this all goes back to our quadrants, because to be irresistible, you have to know who you're talking to, and you have to convey it correctly. If you are talking to a first-time home buyer and you don't understand their challenges, and they're telling you that they have credit problems, and you're like, oh, I can't help you. You're not an expert. I used to do first-time home buyers, I don't do them anymore, but I never did credit problems. I have agents that I know who do that. They have programs that they get their buyers into to increase their credit so they can get a better rate on their loan and qualify. You need stuff like that, where when you're having a conversation, you say, hey, it's okay if you have credit problems. I can help you through this. By the way, that's part of my service that I offer when you work with me. We'll get you into the program or clear it up. I have my amazing lender who can help you through this as well. And we'll get out taken care of. Don't even worry about it. I got you on this. But you have to know how to talk to them. So niching down is really important. So what I want you guys to do this afternoon is really think about how you want to niche down into a category and stay there. I'm gonna promise you, if you are someone who thinks you should talk to everybody, when you start niching down, you're gonna get twice as much business. It really makes that much of a difference. Your ICA is your ideal client avatar. This one is super important. When you go to, I'm trying to think, I don't know if you guys know Sally Beauties. I know her a lot just because of sales wise, but Sally Beauty is a store and you can go in and you can buy beauty products for girls. You can dye your hair, you can do different things. The reason I know them, I did a marketing project on them in college, but they have an ICA so well defined. They know it's a woman. They know her exact age. They know what kind of beauty products she likes to use. They know where she shops, where she lives, what kind of car she drives, and her name is Sally. When you are working with your clients, you want to know your ideal client. I know that in my client base, I have two types of clients and both of the cultures that I work with. Ones who value what I do and ones who want a discount every time. I know them so well that I see them. I see it before I even come in, it's the behavior. So the question is, do you want to work with which one? Maybe you're fine discounting, maybe not. But if you don't know who your ideal client is, maybe you're getting stuck if you haven't looked. Maybe all your past clients are discounts. Maybe you're done discounting. Maybe you've created an ICA not knowing it by discounting. So you should know your niche and you should know your ideal client avatar. That comes along with really doing your buyer broker agreement and ensuring that you're getting things signed because you're talking to the right person, if it's the right person, right? I'm not gonna tell my story because we're running a little behind on time, but you guys understand. Steve Jobs, I love this quote, get closer than ever to your customers. So close that you can tell them what they need well before they realize that they need it themselves. When I'm talking to my client, when you are sitting down explaining the buyer broker agreements and you're explaining your value, I'm cautious of what I bring up because you don't want to bring, I hear so many agents bring things up that actually causes them to lose the sale. So think about that. But I'm talking about things that I know are important to that client without even asking them, because I know my ICA. I know my niche. With my clients, most of them here are on visas. They're very worried about losing their visa or having something happen and have to go back to India or China. So they're very cautious. So what do you think I do when I'm telling my value? I tell them I understand that. I tell them that we will make sure the rules are followed. If they're concerned about permits, we will find permits. Whatever it is, and I ask questions like, do you think this is important? Because some care, some don't. But I address it with them right away. What does that do? It creates the trust and puts me as an expert. Because they know I'm gonna take care of them and I'll watch out for them. In India, not all people from India have this, but some people, the home has to be a certain direction, can't have any steps down, the bathroom can't be in a certain corner. Those are rules too. So I'll ask them if that's something that is important to them. And if they say yes, I'll say, do you understand that's hard with these homes? And I educate them on it. This is what's so important. You have to be able to tell them things before they even know what's a problem. That's what creates you and makes you irresistible. I know I'm going kind of fast. I hope that's okay. So circling back, you need to get really niche down. Oh, I didn't tell my blue water story. I'm gonna tell you really quick because I love the story. Okay, who goes fishing? Oh man, just me? Okay, I don't really fish actually. I lounge on the boat. My husband and boys fish. But I love doing boating and have a big boat and I enjoy it all the time. When you think of your business and niching down, this is something a lot of people don't think about. Why as agents are we going to the bloody waters where there's hundreds of boats packed together, fishing in one spot? When there's blue ocean over there with amazing fish that's just popping around. Because we're trained to follow the group and be there. I want to encourage you to step back, find your niche, find your ICA, go to your blue water where you can fish easily. And you can find clients easily. Stay out of the bloody waters. You don't want to be there. You don't need to be there. But if you don't know your niche and you don't know your ideal client, you get stuck with everyone else and you're getting the slim pickings that are left. So keep that in mind when you're going out and trying to sell to everybody. And then talk directly to your ideal client. Make sure you're speaking their language. I'm not talking real language. I'm talking about their need, their want, understanding them. By the way, that takes time. You have to really sit down and you really have to think about who they are. Do you want to work with men? Do you want to work with women? By the way, cool story. Women find me, but I always work with the men. So I market to women and I talk to women, but I'm always talking to the men. Even in cultures where women are allowed in the same room to do business with men, I've worked with those. And here's the cool thing. I chit chat and sit with the women in the kitchen. The men shoo them out of the house. They tell me now it's time, come sit with us and talk business. So I've gotten into those groups as well, but you have to know them and you have to be able to talk to them. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's gonna be low because nobody here has a niche. Nobody has an ICA, so I'm not gonna answer that one. Most of you are probably at a 1. So let's work it up to a 6 or a 7. By the way, your niche can change over time. You don't have to have the same niche. I started with first-time home buyers, then I went into doing renovations. Now I buy and sell at the same time renovating homes, both sides, right? And I charge for it, by the way, a lot. So find your niche and see where you want to do. Strategy 3, be authentic. I'm gonna skip this one a little bit too, because I've got a lot of stories, but when you're authentic, you build the trust. Something is a problem with real estate agents and social media. You show up one way on social media, and then when they meet you, guess what happens? They're like, who are you? Whoa, it's like weird. That negates your trust that you're trying to build. When you build a brand, you'll be cyberstalked. It is kind of, I was telling people here, it's kind of creepy. I went to an event, not real estate related at all, and there was 5,000 Greeks around. And I wasn't even dressed great, by the way. I was so tired. My kids are in a dance competition. And I had people walk up to me and they're like, are you Christina? And I was like, yes, hi. And they're like, we follow you on social media. And I was like, that's creepy. But they will cyberstalk you. They will cyberstalk you. And so I get people who are clients of mine now, and I ask them, how do you find me? They go, we've been watching you for years. And we realize that we're ready and we want to work with you. So you have to understand, you have to be authentic online and offline. And that's gonna build your trust. And that when you start doing that, it will change a lot. Is it gonna show up? Uh-oh, let me see if it's gonna show up. No, oh no, it's a good quote too. Okay, I don't remember the quote. Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna go. Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, it was Oprah's quote. Okay, I don't know the full quote verbatim, but basically Oprah said, if she knew that being authentic would make her this much money, she would have done it a long time ago. It is so true. People feel it, and that's how important it really, really is. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, so again, be curious, it builds trust. Know your niche, you become the expert. Know your ideal client, it's a trust and expert building. Those are really, really important. I'm gonna skip this one because we're running out of time. I'm gonna give you a quick bonus strategy that 99% of agents don't do. Ask for the win. How many times do I hear from my agents when I'm coaching them? How did it go? It was great. I'm waiting to see if they want to work with me. Do you do that? A lot of agents do that. Yes. It's okay, admit it, right? When you admit it, it's important. You're sitting down, you're discussing the buyer broker agreement. The question should be, before you present it, do you have any other concerns about working with me? No, this is great. You ready to move forward with the agreement that we're gonna mutually agree to work together? Yes. Great. By the way, I don't even have them anymore. I DocuSign everything. But when I was first starting out, I had them with me, pre-filled out. I left the commissions blank because we're gonna discuss them, but I pre-filled out everything else. And then I would sit there. And I would say, now we're gonna negotiate this, and we're gonna talk about commissions and what it means to work with me. We've already had my value, but now we're looking at the paperwork. Then you say, if you have no other questions, turn it around. Are you ready to commit to working with me? If yes, go ahead and sign right there. Why are you waiting? Ask for the win. Even in the listing agreement, when I go on listing appointments, I don't care if they have 10 more appointments or I'm the 10th person. I give the commitment, the buy-in, like right then and there. You're working with me, yes? Yeah, great, sign it. Right? Ask. Make sure you ask. Don't be afraid. If you're feeling like I can't do this, and you're going, why do they want to work with me? I'm gonna let them try me out. That's you, not them. You feel that. This is where the mindset comes in. You need to shift that mindset. Don't be arrogant, but have the confidence to say, they should be working with me. I'm really good at what I do. Right? All that makes a difference when you're going in. So you really want to shift that and have that. You want higher lead conversions? Do you want 60 to 70% higher lead conversions? I hope everyone raises their hand. Right? Physically raise them, it helps your brain. Awesome, I'm getting 90%. Right? So if you just start changing these little things, you build your brand around yourself. You have more discussion with yourself about what you want to do, about your time, about your money. This is a proven statistic. You will increase your lead conversion 60 to 70%. When we go into requirement of the buyer broker agreement and you stay with exclusive and stop messing around with like dabbling, you're gonna see higher rates. It grows over time, but you know they're committed. I don't work with 100 leads. I work probably 20 leads a year, and it closes. Not all of them always close. I had one where with the buy-sell, listing agreement, buyer broker agreement signed. The husband didn't quite tell everything to the wife got a little mad, they had a pause, they don't divorce. Things happen, that's okay. Who wants to stop running around with thousands of leads, hoping for a deal to fall out? I did. I was done, like done. This is how I work 15 hours a week. This is what I do. I don't mess around with these, I call them muddy leads. If the leads are coming from Zillow, I'm not saying they're bad, right? Or Redfin, or all these other lead sources, these random ones you get calls from 20,000 times a day, which I get as well. They're muddy. That lead doesn't even know who you are. They're not committed to you. Now, I was a Redfin referral partner. My second, third, or fourth year, I can't remember, somewhere in there. I was in the top % as one of the referral partners. So it's good business when you're newer and you're trying to grow things. There's nothing wrong. But you got to work twice as hard to show your value and your worth and get them committed. So just keep that in mind. as you want to grow. So one of the big questions I want to ask is, what could you start creating right now that would have the most impact on your business tomorrow? A few people share. What do you think?
The brand.
The brand, awesome.
A niche.
There you go. Yep, ideal client. What about confidence? Right? Tell yourself, you got this. I'm gonna go do it. If you have an appointment, who has an appointment this afternoon? Okay, tomorrow, next day, whatever your next appointment is. You're gonna walk in there, you're gonna say, Christina told me I'm amazing, because you are, all of you are, because you showed up today. You got this information and you're ready to apply it. And you're gonna walk in saying, I deserve this. I worked hard for this. I don't care if you're new or not, you deserve it and you've worked hard for it. You go in and you command that. So I just wanna bring this back up one more time so you guys can see. This is why I brought this up in the beginning. Because you have to understand the quadrant, you have to understand where you need to be and how to move into a way. This all ties back into getting your buyer broker agreement signed. It is that important, and I want you guys to make sure you understand that. Does anyone want to share how, we kind of talked about it already, but how having the framework, mastering it would help you?
Confidence.
Yep, confidence, building your brand, right, all the goodies.
Business,
What was that?
consistent business.
It does. And the cool thing is that when you're really good and you show a lot of value, you get referrals and you just work referrals from your lot of clients going forward. Can I ask you guys to commit on improving in these areas? I'm almost done by the way. Yes? Okay, awesome. It's really important. So the big review, welcome the struggle, focus on your niche and your ICA, be authentic and ask for the win, please. So I'm gonna ask just a few people. I have a few more slides after this. What's been most valuable so far? What do you think?
Actually, that's Steve Jobs quote.
Okay, that's a good one. Yes,
Actually watching you because you're delivering it, but you're delivering it in such a way that you can actually see that you are what you're speaking about. And so to me, just seeing that consistency that you're talking about, when we walk into a client's, a client's house, we need to show that. We need to appear the way you're speaking.
yes, the way you feel, and that's why it's the way you feel. If you don't feel confident and you don't feel good about yourself, right? Like you have to change that. I can't, and this is why I always tell people, I can't tell you what to do. Because I can tell you all day long, but if you don't make the choice to do it, like my daughter's like, oh, just tell me to eat healthy, mom, just tell me what to eat and I'll eat healthy, and then I'm like, but then what happens when I'm not around? How are you gonna behave? That's something to really consider. It has to be a change that you wanna do. So hopefully I have helped you guys at least get enough to start the conversation and be prepared. Real quick, if you guys are serious about making a change, I wanna invite you to check out my course. Oh, my images aren't coming up. Sorry, guys. Agent Brand Academy. You can take a picture of that as well and then check on it later. But I have a whole course around branding. It's really cool. It's 9 modules. I'm not gonna go into detail of that, but I wanna offer it out for anybody who's really serious. I give a lot of coaching in it. I have a lot of conversation. At the end of the day, you can start your brand tomorrow. So there's no reason why you cannot leave here today and at least just start something, right? So make sure. So I'm gonna leave this slide up. I also, the red and yellow is my Instagram, if you wanna follow me on Instagram. By the way, I just started it like a year or something ago, so welcome to it. I did not build my business on social media, by the way. I had no social media. Think about that, okay? You can do social media, I encourage it, but do not spend your time wasting on social media, posting, thinking you're gonna get business, because it will, but that's the long game. You need to start getting out and having conversation, creating your brand, who you are, how you wanna show up in the world. All right, I wanna leave it now open for questions.
Hi, I'm Angie, lawyer's title, but I have worked with a TC background. My thing is just to clarify, because I've seen it before, when you have the buyer broker agreement, you should always have the percentage or the flat fee and never a to be determined, because we see that come across as well.
That's a good point. You don't want that, especially in the future. Because if you put a do not, like, to be determined, and all of a sudden the seller is offering something, you're gonna get legal issues. They're gonna say, well, to be determined means it's free, I didn't have to pay you, And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what it meant. We spoke verbally about this. Where's your proof? So I always, by the way, follow up any decisions with my clients in a text. So if we have a phone call, I follow up in a text and ask them to respond and agree to it. Hey, we already spoke about this. I'm just gonna text you. Can you just in a text? If that's what we talked about, just say, yeah, totally, that's what we talked about. Why? Because if I'm asking somebody if I can go ahead and change out the flooring in their house, or I'm gonna do something here, or hey, I'm going to accept offers early, and they get mad at you and say, you didn't tell me you were gonna do that, I don't like it, you took advantage of me, you just come back and say, no, we talked about it and you approved it, see? So verbally, you have to be careful of, because it's very easy for someone to say, no. What other question?
I have an objection on that form that the buyer asking like, why you want me to sign exclusively with you while you work with multiple buyer?
So are you talking about they wanna work with multiple agents, or
No,
you working with other buyers?
like I checked the box exclusively, like
Yeah.
we working and commit with each other,
Yes.
right? And he said, I don't want to be exclusive.
Okay, so he doesn't want it.
Right.
Okay, so I get that. So there can be different things. They're not ready, they're not willing, or they're not sure about you. Okay, I had one recently, and I was kind of okay with it because it's a piece of land for like 300,000. I sell 3 million and up, right? Oh, I never got to my dying story, but I do 3 million and up, right? And so I'm like, for land, I'll do it. But then during the conversation, they were like, well, we want to just see a whole bunch of land. It might take us a couple years. We want to do this. I'm thinking to myself, like 3% on 300,000. I don't know how I want to deal with that. He wasn't ready to sign, but he really wanted to work with me. And I said, look, I cannot drive all the way to Sacramento and all these places for $300,000 piece of land, then maybe you'll buy, even with agreement. And I said, so what we can do is if you still want to work with me, I'm here, I'll offer some guidance, but I'm not going to show you anything. I'm not going to get in the details of it, but you can kind of look around and I'll keep in touch. And if you decide you want to move forward with me, because I think it'd be a great relationship, let's do that. But you have to understand, I'm not giving you full service until you commit to working with me. There are buyers who just don't want to commit. They think they can get a better deal somewhere else.
So in this case, it's not like that.
Okay,
But like I work with them for like 6 months, so
Okay.
then like everything going fine until I bring that up.
so,
No, but like he just tried to get me answer his question, like
Yeah.
he don't understand that question, so he tried to get, and I have no idea about the answer, so it's not going well, because
Okay.
I lost him.
okay, that's okay.
It's okay, but it's just like, if you got this objection again, how can you answer that?
So
Like.
I would approach it in a way you don't get the objection. So 6 months working with him, if I was working with someone for 6 months, if I understood you correctly. And then we're seeing homes, we're having a good flow, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden I go, oh, can you sign this commitment?
Yeah.
They're gonna be like,
I know, that's weird.
why? What are you doing? You throw it, that trust, I was cut in half.
Right.
They really are. What was that?
So you should ask that first beginning.
Here's the way you should do it. Again, if your broker says something different, please listen to your broker. You should, before you run out, especially in July, you can't run out anymore. Anybody who reaches out to me, I don't know. I get a little information over text or whatever, and I go, great. Before I work with anybody else, we must have a buyer consultation. We can do it in person or in Zoom. What would you like? Oh, I'll do Zoom. We most of them say Zoom. Great. We get on the Zoom call. I discuss. Think you're presenting. Think of like presenting. I give you an intro. You know what we're gonna talk about. I give you an idea and then I lead you through it. And then I wrap it all up. You say, we're gonna have a buyer consultation. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do for you, but before I do any of that, I wanna find out what you're looking for, how I can help you, because how can I tell you what I'm gonna do for you if I don't know what you need? So I'm gonna ask all that first, then I'll talk a little bit about me. Then at the end, if we both feel mutually we wanna work together, I do require a signed agreement to work together. You can say, my broker required, some agents feel more comfortable saying that, you can put that one in there, right? And at the end, I'll review all that. If it looks good, I'm gonna ask you to sign it before we move forward. Okay, you have to present it. You have to get a buy-in first from them. Talk about other stuff, show your value, and then ask again and say, okay, you're ready now. Do you have any objections? If they say, but I'm not sure of you. That means your value wasn't strong enough. They didn't feel you enough. I personally, when I was first starting out, I would meet at Starbucks. I would meet in like parking lots. I would meet wherever, and I would open my presentation book on the hood of my car, and I'd be like, what? And I'd be taking notes and it doesn't matter where you are. If you're not having a presentation and you're not showing them what you're offering, it's a hard conversation. So before you get to that, the reason it was awkward and weird is because he thought you were already working together. Now you're asking for an agreement to work together. So you want to negate that by first talking about in the beginning. Now, before the rules change, if you're like, I just need to figure this out a little, I'm gonna show them one home, I'm gonna show my value, and then after we're gonna sit on my hood of my car and we're gonna talk about it. Play it that way for a little bit. That's okay. I don't recommend that every time because that's a crutch. And when the rules change, you can't do that. So if you want to get a little more comfortable, that's okay too. But you have to work this into the conversation. And you have to explain to them why it's so important for them, not you. Why is it important for them? Does anyone know really why it's so important? Not your value, you're not sharing value. Why is it important for the buyer to sign this? Why have all these rules changed? We should know this. The rules have changed because the buyers feel like they've been taken advantage of and nobody communicated with them, the services they're gonna get, or the fees or things they're gonna pay, and they feel like we arbitrarily inflated all the prices. Why? Because we didn't communicate anything with them. We didn't tell them what the commissions are gonna be. We didn't tell them what we're gonna do. We didn't commit to them. They married us, not really knowing what's going on, and took all of our stuff with them, right? This is why it's changing. So the reason it's important for them, and I say this every time, this outlines what I'm gonna do for you. I have it in writing as well, so you can see all the cool stuff I do. Get packages, get creative, however you wanna present it, whatever it is. But say, I have it written here, but this legal document says that now we are going to be partners. We're committed together. So if I do wrong, it's here, you'll see it. And you know now that I have your best interest, so you're not gonna go run off to another agent. There's no need for that. There's no need to have hundreds of agents. By the way, most buyers who aren't committed are probably working with 4 or 5 other agents. Do you know how stressful that is? Do you know agents don't respond to people? And that's a big complaint my buyers give me when they work with me. Why do you not complain? Why do you not communicate or get back to people? Because you're working with hundreds of maybe clients. And you're going 1,000 different ways and you can't get back to somebody. Instead, if you have someone committed, I tell them they can call me all day long. When they have a signed agreement with me, they can call me in the evening. I do calls at 10 o'clock at night sometimes. Sometimes 11:30 or midnight if we have to, we're negotiating stuff. But that's my service. They get me. When they need me, I'm there. My client called me, he wanted to have a discussion, we're closing, next week. And he was like, he called me, left a message, and I was actually in a listing appointment. And I saw it was him, I was like, oh, excuse me 1 second. And I texted him, I go, hey, I'm in an appointment, give me a couple of hours just so you know where I'm at, I'll get back to you. He loves it, he actually apologized, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. But it sets the expectation that I'm here, I acknowledge, and I'm being part of it. So I want you to really think about your value, what you're gonna bring, what you're gonna do, how you're gonna present it, and practice it. Okay? Any other questions?
So, what is your advice or, advice on the existing client right now towards to the July, like for the buyer broker agreement?
Right now, if you've been, okay, so this is a good question. If you've been working with them and you know they're committed, don't bring up the buyer broker agreement right now. You can have I'm a big conversation person. So you can start having conversations. You can say, hey, you probably have seen this NAR settlement, you've heard stuff. If you have questions, I'm your resource for it because I'm an expert. Please don't listen to news and stuff because I don't really know all that. So come to me and I'll help you, but I just want to let you know if this does so happen to go past July, we might have to have a different conversation, but don't worry, I'll talk to you well before that. So you don't have to scare them now, but you can, remember I talked about just like programming them, like, hey, it's coming up, we're gonna have a discussion, don't worry, we'll talk about when it gets there, don't wait till July. Have a conversation in June, but the reason I said don't bring it up now, what if you get a home tomorrow? You scared them for no reason, and they got a home tomorrow, and they may pull back because the trust was broken, and not wanna work with you. So you have to just feel it out. I have had clients where I had a buyer broker agreement signed for 2.5%. The listing agent was only giving 2%, I was cool with that, yeah, it's fine, right? I get a call from the lender and she's like, Coco, we have a problem, we can't close. I'm like, wait a minute, what? We had a discussion, we should be closing, like, no problem. No, we can't close, they don't have enough funds. I'm sitting there like, I was kind of upset, I'm like, wait a minute, we discussed all this, like, how do they not have funds? So, they've tapped into everything they can. And they still owe you 0.5% because the seller's only paid 2%, that throws them off, and they can't close. You know what my client said when I had a conversation with them? Oh my God, Coco, we're so sorry, this is when your clients love you, we're so sorry, we'll cancel the transaction, find a different home so you can get your full commission. Who's had clients like that? That's amazing. I said, absolutely not. I said, I will ratify my agreement with you, we'll do 2%, don't you worry, we'll get you closed. I know how much you love this home. Guess what I get from them? Lots of referrals, right? They're amazing people. When you know your niche and you know your ideal client, you get that. How many people get gifts from their clients when you close? I get them every time. Every time. Because I'm speaking to the right people, I'm saying the right words, and they love working with me. And then you get referrals. The cool thing is you get people like them. If you're discounting all the time, you get discounted people. So you have to choose, what do you wanna be? I don't discount, I only discount if I choose to discount. But if someone says and asks me to discount, I say no, right? So you have to build that. You have to think about, who do you wanna be? How do you wanna show up? And make up business. We are not dabbling. We're not running from Costco to whatever, I can't remember all those people, the people who buy the groceries for me, we're not doing those things, we're not Uber. We have a real legitimate business, unless I shouldn't say those aren't real, they are real, some people have really good ones, but we're not just doing one-off things. We're selling real estate, we're building a list of clients, and hopefully, many years down the road, you have something really cool. I have just started building my team. I've had people kind of on and off, but I've always been fearful of building a real estate team, just because I'm like, it's a time commitment, I want to give them the best, coaching and mentoring as possible, but I've had so many people ask for it, that I'm doing it. And you get to a point in your career where you should be doing that, where you've grown, and you feel so good, either you take on a team, or you start referring stuff out and you take more vacations, but what does your future look like? If you don't know your future and how you want it to be, how do you know you're gonna get there? Any other questions? I know we've run over a lot. You guys are awesome. Hit me on social media, on Instagram, if you guys have more questions. I am truly around to help. I'm gonna do another training call next week online. We're gonna go over some more different things, because NARS, this whole thing has been a big topic. So I'm trying to give out as much information I can to help out and keep you guys moving along. So thank you for everybody who came and stayed. I'm sorry I ran over, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody online as well. I have a couple of them, but they're my, they're my real estate ones.
I'll just pick one and I have to go, so I'll keep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.